Imagine needing to do anything to save your family. This is what we will see in today's story. Meet Jenny, a strong woman, and Peter, a man whose heart was changed by an unexpected choice. Between contracts and feelings, this journey reveals how destiny can surprise and transform lives. Get ready to discover how the woman bought by the millionaire became the woman loved by the millionaire. Jenny knew that she would be criticized by the strictest people, but she had no other choice. She needed a lot of money quickly to save her family's lives. So she decided to participate in an auction where she would be sold. The night was busy at the luxury auction house in New York. It was a place full of wealth and glamour, where the world's richest bought works of art, jewelry, and sometimes something more unusual. And that night, Jenny was one of those unusual things being auctioned off. She and 3 other women were there, ready to sell themselves, trying to get money with their bodies and favors to solve their problems. The room was filled with whispers and the anticipation in the air was palpable. Jenny felt her heart racing as she waited behind the curtains, watching the action in the main hall of one of Manhattan's auction houses. "You're next, Jenny," said the event organizer, a middle-aged man with a calm smile. "Remember, stay calm and show confidence. You are a rare gem, and everyone here is watching you." Jenny shook her head, feeling a lump in her throat. She never imagined that her life would come to this point, being auctioned off like an object. But her father's gambling debt had put her in this desperate situation, and now she needed to face her fate. Jenny's father has always been addicted to gambling, but this time he went overboard and ended up owing a lot of money to dangerous mobsters. If he didn't pay the debt, the entire family would be in danger. A friend told Jenny that she could sell herself temporarily to rich men who wanted the company of a beautiful woman for a set period of time. Jenny knew this was just a sophisticated way of humiliating herself, but she had no other option to get the money needed to save her family from imminent death. So, she decided to put herself up for sale. While she waited, her mind was confused and she really wanted to run away. But she needed to be brave and stay. So it was time for her to enter the scene. The organizer gave a supportive smile and Jenny walked to the stage, feeling the shoppers' intense gazes on her. The auctioneer began enthusiastically, announcing her arrival. "Everyone, it is with great pleasure that I present tonight's next item. A rare jewel, a unique beauty. Here's Jenny." The audience murmured in awe as Jenny gracefully walked across the stage, trying to remain calm in the face of anxious gazes. In her heart, she hoped that the man who offered the most would be kind and polite to her. She thought to herself, "My God, how did I end up here because of my father's irresponsibility?" The bids began to arrive, each one louder than the last, as Jenny fought to control all the emotions that were overwhelming her. $500,000. Shouted one of the bidders. $800,000. Shouted another. Jenny stood her ground, trying to ignore the sounds of bids being called by the auctioneer. She knew she couldn't change what was happening, but she held out hope that the buyer would be someone who would bring a little light to her uncertain future. When the auctioneer's gavel banged, marking that Jenny had been sold, she was taken to a backstage room. There, she waited nervously to meet the person who bought her. Shortly afterwards, the door opened and a tall, powerful man entered the room. His serious eyes focused on her, examining her with such interest that Jenny felt exposed. "So you're Jenny," he said, his deep voice resonating in the room. "Yes, it's me," she replied, trying to appear confident in front of the man who now controlled her destiny. "Peter Joseph," he introduced himself, extending his hand. Jenny automatically reached out her hand, feeling a shiver as she touched Peter's firm, cold hand. "You will be my partner from now on," he declared, in a serious voice. "Partner?" she repeated, raising an eyebrow. "What exactly does this mean?" Peter smiled enigmatically. "It means you will be by my side at elegant parties, important dinners, and social events. In return, I will see to it that you have comfort, security, and live in luxury." Jenny felt a mixture of relief and nervousness. Relief knowing that, even though he had the right to have whatever he wanted from her, he chose to have his company above all else. She knew that in the coming times, this new life would be challenging, but also a chance to protect her family from imminent danger. Peter was one of the wealthiest men in town, and Jenny had heard of him several times, but she had never seen him in person. She knew that he was always surrounded by elegant women from high society, so she found it strange that he needed to acquire a woman at an auction. After all, he had no shortage of options for company. Peter, being rich and handsome, always easily found an attractive woman to date. But after a few dates, the women wanted something more serious and he wasn't interested in commitment. Then, he heard about the company auction. This rich man could bid to buy a woman for 3 months, having her full attention during that period. Peter thought this was the ideal solution for him, having beautiful company without any commitment. When Jenny took the stage, he was immediately enchanted by her beauty. He thought to himself, "What a beautiful woman. No matter what price they ask for it, I will pay it." Thus, Peter made the highest bid at the auction, guaranteeing the right to have the company of the beautiful Jenny. "That's right," she agreed, resignedly. "Okay," said Jenny. Thus she signed the contract that would decide her future as the companion of Peter Joseph, a man whose name was known and respected everywhere. When they arrived at his house, Peter asked the maid to take Jenny to the guest room. It was a very beautiful and comfortable room. When she entered the room, she immediately saw on the bed, there was some very sensual black lingerie, stockings, and on the floor, a pair of high-heel shoes. Jenny thought, "Looks like I won't be able to escape this situation without paying the price." And he didn't make it, guys. Peter made the most of their time together. Despite being there for money, Jenny didn't feel uncomfortable spending the night with him. On the contrary, he was affectionate and attentive. But let me tell you something surprising, my friend, that happened that night. After Peter fulfilled all his desires with the beautiful Jenny, he was not satisfied. Not at all. On the contrary, he repeated the wonderful moments several nights in her arms, and after a few days, he was completely in love with Jenny. What a crazy world, isn't it, guys? Peter bought a woman at an auction to avoid commitment and ended up falling in love with her. But he didn't tell her. He preferred to hide this feeling until he found out why she decided to sell herself at auction. As for Jenny, well, at first, she gave herself to Peter out of duty, because of the contract she signed. But over time, duty turned into pleasure. She looked forward to the intimate moments after the parties they were together. But she also kept her feelings a secret, because she knew she was a woman bought by Peter and couldn't expect him to have feelings for her. One silent night, when the mansion was dark and still, Jenny found Peter alone in the library, holding a drink, lost in his thoughts. "Peter, can I come in?" asked Jenny, hesitantly, at the half-open door. He looked up and nodded, inviting her in with a wave of his hand. Jenny entered the library, feeling a tension that made her uneasy. "What's going on, Peter?" she asked, her soft voice echoing through the silence. Peter sighed deeply, as if he was struggling with something inside him, before finally deciding to open his heart. "Jenny, there's something important I need to tell you," he began, his voice thick with concern. "Jenny, you are so smart and beautiful. Why did you decide to participate in that auction? Was it just to make easy money?" When he mentioned easy money, she couldn't hold back her tears. We all know that expression is used for those who engage in things like prostitution, and hearing that from him hurt her deeply. She loved him and didn't want to be seen that way, but that was exactly the role she was playing alongside her. In fact, it wasn't just a cry, it was a deep, painful groan, a cry within oneself of sadness and anguish. She truly loved him and didn't want to be in that shameful position. Noticing her shame and sadness, he said, "You can count on me, dear. Tell me what happened." Then she explained everything that led her to do that. After hearing everything, he said, "Now I understand. I'm not going to condemn you, because I would do the same to save my family." Then he continued, "But I went to the auction thinking that I wouldn't fall in love. But I ended up falling in love with you, Jenny." At that moment, she looked up at him, as he continued, "I don't need to ask if you love me, because a man knows when a woman really wants him, and I know that you have feelings for me. I can see it in your gestures, in your smiles when we're together. You've been liking me for a while now, haven't you, Jenny?" She smiled, seeing that he was an experienced man and had really understood the situation, replying, "Yes, my dear, I love you deeply, and it hurts to know that our time together will end in a week, when the contract ends." He looked at her and he replied, "Who said our agreement will end? This ends in a week, but we will celebrate a new agreement. Will you marry me?" She smiled radiantly and he kissed her. Became the millionaire's beloved wife. Jenny and Peter celebrated their new contract with a beautiful wedding ceremony, surrounded by the admiration and happiness of friends and family. Over the years, they built a life together based on love, respect, and companionship. Peter not only loved her deeply, but he also redeemed himself in Jenny's eyes, showing that her love was genuine and not based on financial contracts. Jenny, in turn, found in Peter's love the security and support she needed to help her family in an honest and dignified way. And so, the story that began with an auction ended in a full and happy life. Did you like this emotional story about Jenny and Peter? Leave your comment telling us what you think of this surprising transformation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new stories here on the channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.